Recently, I was in Mexico, a beautiful country, beautiful people. I did not understand one word of Spanish, but there was the usual hospitality and love when Christians gather, no matter what the language or where they are. And the Lord made sure that the meeting we were attending was well attended, and we kept our nose to the grindstone because it poured rain for 2 weeks. So no leaving the retreat house and no going to the beaches, but constant documents, presentations, deliberations, discernment. And at the end of 2 weeks, really the end of 2 weeks of 2 years of prayer and discernment, Father General, his council, all the provincials of the Passionist foundations in 58 countries throughout the world, reconfigured the whole congregation as it may be for the next who knows when, how many years. A daunting task. But the whole purpose was so that we Passionists could re-look at our call by God and how we can fulfill it better by improving the quality of our community life and our prayer life together, and then with our laity as partners in ministry to go out to reach the real needs of the crucified of today. Where should we be? What should we be doing? How should we do it together? And to accomplish that, let's be Passionists without borders. Using the example of that wonderful medical team, Doctors Without Borders. Wherever anyone is suffering, they go. Wherever anyone is in need, they're present. And wherever anyone is seeking for some comfort, consolation, and compassion, they give it. And that's what we were all about for those 2 weeks. I was amazed at the results. The brethren will hear about that very shortly, but not today. Now that's going to really pique their curiosity. But the reality is we are all called, those who take the Passionist vows and those who are associated with us by living the vows of your own life and your commitment to God and to those God has put in your lives, to work better together for the good of everyone. Boy, does our world need that today. And we need it as a community. And we're gathered here today in this monastery, in this chapel, to pray that we can accomplish that goal. And we are asking the intercession of all the Passionist saints who have gone before us and are now seeing things so differently as they look into the face of God. And then listen to our prayers, our needs to help us live our lives better. No matter where we are, no matter who we are. Because every one of us has a call from God to become holy. To be loving and caring and forgiving all our lives, even the times when we're tired of it, or we don't know how to do it, or we're discouraged, and we need a little ministry ourselves, and it doesn't seem like anybody's doing it. Big challenge. But today we turn to those Passionist saints who gave everything they could because they firmly believed in what Jesus said, by the power of his own life and the example of all that he did, to come follow him and give their all for everyone. And that's not only for vowed religious, that's for dedicated husbands and wives, that's for moms and dads, that's for single people, that's for young, that's for middle-aged, that's for those of us that are no longer young. Isn't that a nice way to put it? But the reality is this is our call from God for every one of us to become holy as he is holy, to be compassionate as he is compassionate, to be loving as he is loving. And we need our friends who have done it and are now there with him to help us do it. And God has graced and blessed our community with another candidate for sainthood, canonized by the church someday, please God, and someday soon, please God, Theodore Foley. One of our own religious who was a great teacher, a great director of students, a great rector of a local house, and then was called to Rome to be a consultor for the whole congregation, and shortly thereafter called to be the superior general in the most turbulent time in our contemporary history of the church and of the world, as we heard so well put today by Father Victor. Theodore was a man of great faith, great simplicity, great love, and he spent his whole life developing those virtues. and looking for ways and means and opportunities to share them lovingly with others in the community, beyond the community, but with the community. That was his greatness. You know, at the opening ceremony recently in Rome, when the official inquiry by Rome into his life and his virtues was begun, Cardinal Ruini said this of Theodore: his fidelity to the charism of the Congregation of the Passion, to the teaching and the spirit of Paul the Cross, which he represented for 10 years as Superior General while he governed the congregation, in addition to his own simple lifestyle, humble, meek, and benevolent ways with everyone, represents the spiritual journey he entrusted to those who knew him. And the process began. And now Rome is looking into all his writings, all his manuscripts, anything he said or did, to be grounds for canonization. And please God, next year that papal commission will be here in this house. Don't get nervous, but they are coming. To further investigate his life, his example. And they will exhume his body and identify the remains. And they're very pleased with our request that these remains go to our foundational house in Pittsburgh, where the first original founders of our province from Italy are buried. And that a cult for devotion, for prayers, for miracles begin there. And those people can't wait till that day happens. We're in a great time of turmoil, economic worry, wars that are happening and wars that might happen. We're in a time of uncertainty and fear and nervousness and anxiety. But these are the times we're living in. People are afraid if next week they're still going to have a job. People are wondering if next month they can pay all their bills or part of them. People are concerned about all the illness and disease, and yet there doesn't seem to be a lot of progress, although some has been made. People are grieving the loss of loved ones. People are worried, sick about their young ones, their children, their grandchildren. What kind of a world are they coming into and growing up in? And Theodore had to deal with all these questions in a different time, and he dealt with them in a different way. But it was the right way. Faith and trust in God. And live your life the way you feel in your heart God wants you to live it. And share that richness with others. Your own immediate family, your neighbors, your friends, wherever you go any day. Be a sign of hope for everyone. And let them know that in the midst of all trials and tribulations, the cross of Christ will triumph. And Jesus will help us deal with our crosses and journey with us to the full glory of resurrection. That's what today is all about. And that's what every day should be all about for each and every one of us. So as we continue with the sacred liturgy, to honor our saints who have already been canonized and to pray fervently that God will grace us with another one, Theodore, let us unite in great prayer and great reverence. I first met Theodore when I was a novice, many years ago. He was rector of the novitiate house in Pittsburgh. And I remember the day we all arrived, nervous as all could be, and he warmed us immediately with that wonderful smile of his. You see it on this holy card. It was his hallmark. It was him telling us without saying a word, I love you. I trust you. I accept you. I want to be your friend. What can I do for you? A smile speaks volumes. And then he turned us over to the Master of Novices, Father Gregory Flynn, God rest his soul, and his assistant, Father Cajetan Bendernagel, who's still with us. And we began our novitiate. And you know what impressed me? We as novices had to go to everything. The rector, Theodore Foley, although he wasn't a novice, was always there, including matins at 2 a.m. in the morning. The only thing different about him was he sat in the superior's chair. But as far as everything else, he was a novice with us encouraging us by his presence. Never said a word, just that gentle, humble smile and the twinkle in his eye that said, "You can do it. You can do it." Many times I had to beg culpa. If we broke anything, we had to apologize to the community for that breakage. And we had to kneel in front of the superior as the whole community gathered for the evening meal. And it was so mortifying, but it was so good for humility. And I was up there many a night. I just had a habit of breaking practically everything I picked up. And he'd always smile, look at me, and say, "You again." The gentleness of the man. And yet the great respect for traditions that we questioned. Why do we have to do this? And he would just say, "Shh, there's a reason. There's a reason." And now I know why. To keep us humble, to keep us authentic, to be honest with ourselves and be responsible for what's entrusted to us by the goodness of people who give us what we need to do what we're supposed to be doing and live the way we're supposed to be living. You can do it. You can do it. And so today, as we gather together, vowed members, friends, partners in ministry, as this great congregation is reconfiguring itself and trying to find out what it is God wants us to do, where he wants us to be, how to serve better, how to give a more authentic witness of our call as passionists, we can do it. With the help of our friends, those in heaven, those on their way to heaven, and you. As you go into the community dining room in this monastery, there's a wonderful saying from the letters of Paul of the Cross. He was encouraging a young local superior who was kind of, I've had it. I don't need this grief. And he wrote him so beautifully, and he simply said, "Have no fear. The congregation is his. He will provide. He will provide."